Yeah, I believe it's time to start the session on the use of music. I'll be the moderator for the session. My name is Daryl Clendenin from Portland, Oregon. Joining me on the panel this afternoon, we have Mr. Dick Ledger, directly to my left here, who is very well known for his work with callers throughout the country, and especially for his particular expertise in timing. Now, Dick also is one of the callers who is capable of playing his own music while he calls. So I can't think of anybody that might be better in a better position to give you some real good ideas on the use of music in hand with your square dance calling than Mr. Dick Ledger. And let's bring him on right now.
Thank you, Daryl. We will start by listening to some music, because I think that Wade Driver, if any of you were here this morning, Deco Deck and the other gentlemen that were here just brought out some fantastic things, and I sat over there in a corner. I was one of the lucky ones that got in. And they brought out points in music that we really just don't listen to music enough before we pick up the record and we start calling. Okay, we're just going to put some records on, and I just want to, music is our best friend. Number one, it never lies to you. It's probably the most constant thing you have. Please put the instrumental up. I can't stand the other side. No, I'm kidding. But it's the most constant thing we have to use it. And yet, what we find in today's dancing and today's calling is that we've been on this choreograph kick, and we spend all this time learning methods to call. Sight calling, mental imagery, posting, 1P, 2P, and it mesmerizes the average person coming into the field of calling. For most of us here, it's too late. But for the new caller, that took about 5 seconds to penetrate. We find that for the new caller coming in, I think that CALLERLAB has to give him more ammunition in the field of what's been neglected, music. How to use it. How to listen to it and find out what it says to you. Okay, I'm going to put a music on. Just put it on the beginning. We'll just kind of listen to this record and learn all you possibly can about this piece of music, okay? And then we're going to ask. Good rhythm, eh? Sides right on through. Looks loud. Same lady's chain. What did you hear when I asked you what you heard? Too much music. Is it been that way all day?
I just got here. I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, there was a different instrument came in. Did you all hear it? Something was playing earlier, and then all of a sudden another instrument comes in, bang. That is, you finished 64 beats of music. And if you listen to it for another 64 beats of music, you'll find another instrument change. Maybe the piano picks it up. Maybe a clarinet picks it up. Maybe a cornet picks it up. But it's giving you a loud and clear message that the song is done, we are now going on to something else. How to use that music and develop it as an instinct is what we try to promote, and to give somebody something to work on. All right? Could you put that on again and play softer? First of all,
Ragging a Call on Windsor.
Ragging a Call on Windsor. Also known as This Old World Needs a Lot More Loving. We have 8 beats. right on left field. Same lady's chain. I can talk to you and do that at the same time. Sides, right on left field, because it becomes an instinct. Same lady's chain. And if I had to explain what you're doing, join hands, circle left. I want you to make this. Corner swing. Hold that back to the last possible second. Promenade. I know. Right now they're halfway from home. I have to watch them. Heads, right on left field. I know I'm right, the instrument change. Head, lady's chain. But it works. Sides, right on left field. But you have to work at it. It's not that easy. Same lady's chain. You don't have to put the garbage in. Oh, circle left. Circle left and around you go. He turns at the corner, split with the corner release. Why bury the music? Promenade. That's all you need. And let them hear that music. Let's see if we have another instrument change here. We'll change the figure. Heads, promenade outside. Change the key. Same lady's chain. Sides, promenade outside. Yes, you with the red shirt. That's it, yeah. Go ahead. Same lady's chain. But I'm not going to punish the floor. All circle left to straighten that guy out in the red shirt, but I can help him. Corner swing. You, sir. No, not that one. The other one. You got it. Promenade. We don't miss. It has to be, but you can control your floor this way. Heads, promenade, half. Let's just kind of listen to this a little bit. Sides, right on left field. Because we're going to deal with something split phrasing. Square through sides. Give them the number one. Do-si-do is on 1 and 2, isn't it? However, 8 chain 4 starts on 1. It feels good to the dancer. Swing 5. He can't swing 4. It's the wrong girl. Promenade. But that's what we call insurance. It doesn't matter whether it was that record or any record.
We have a question.
Okay. No. Thank you. Okay, now any time along here, if there's any question, I understand we have a question behind us?
I guess not. I thought he had one back there. I'm sorry.
You were waving hello. Okay. The fact of the matter is, we can use variety in music. But the one constant factor you have to work with that does not lie to you is the music. They've been writing music the same way for years and years and years. The only thing we haven't been doing is really concentrating on a method to use it that becomes natural. Now, when you call that way, and you give that number one beat to the dancer, a funny thing happens. They don't get as tired dancing. You very rarely lose them at 10 o'clock. But you must pre-plan your material, because you don't want to keep people off phrase. It's possible to go off phrase a little bit, but bring them back on as soon as possible, and they never know they were off, because it was a continuing mixture of basics. Any questions? At this point, I don't know whether they're friendly or not.
Yeah.
They're serious.
I know. Grim.
Thank you for laughing. Yeah, it was serious. That's all the time I'm going to take, Beverly, except just to play a little bit of different style of music, okay? And I just want to put these on to listen, okay? And I'm not plugging any individual records, because if you look through here, Max, you'll even see one of yours.
That old?
No, come to find out, it's still in my closet at home. I'm sorry about that. I thought I had it. Okay? Just listen to this a little bit. somebody stops on the wrong way across the square, I know they're wrong and not the music heads promenade. The instrument changed. That's my assurance that I was right. Okay?
Lucky, you keep hitting me. All right, go.
Let's just change a little bit in variety. I think many times when dancers say, we want variety, I think it doesn't affect the timing. It doesn't say they want me to do one fast, one slow. I can change the tempo, but the record that people will ask me, what's the name of it? Listen to this. You know, I think that's the variety they're looking for. I'll use that record at least once a night. And more dancers, and if there are any callers in the hall, will come up and say, what is that? That just happens to be Aunt May's Canadian Jig. If we have any Canadians here, by George, that's one thing that came from your country. I love it. Aunt May's Canadian Jig. But there's a little tune that's playing here. What beat are we on? 17. Oh, 1. And the music is telling us right here. And it's a lilting song. It's almost like a singing call. And it works. And after that, I use this. It hardly ever fails. Maybe once in a great while. But somebody will come up and say, what is that song? I love it. You know? It doesn't have to be a singing call you're doing. Or a patter call. That's a lilting tune. He's afraid of me. That is Aunt May's Canadian Jig, Folkcraft, F1438. Yes, the other side is very good, behind the old briar patch. Just play just a little bit. Big.
6/8.
Yeah. It picks up a floor, too. But they're still 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're still there. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Those counts are still there. Those are dancing steps. But you feel the upper part of the body going. You know, one, the downbeat gives you the thing to walk on, right? And the upbeat gives you the lift. And you just don't get tired unless you're dancing this and fighting the music, like the heads. Now that felt good to me to say heads because I said it on number 1. But for the dancers, they want to know heads what? You've got to give them to them. And there's a little tune here. But let's just wait for one more thing. That's part B. Okay? This is in 2 parts, by the way, too. You get 16 counts and that repeats. Okay? You get 16 more counts and that repeats. Then it just jumped into D. It's played for 16. Now at the end of 64 heads, right? On F2. And if I don't put it there, I'm too late. Baby shark.
I got used to being hit. I don't want to pick it up unless I get hit. You want to put that in tape?
Yeah. Some of the problems with these records you'll find is that you have and that's your intro. Just play just the and if you want to do something, you got to tell people, ready? On the music, heads right on the two, ready? On your mark. That's all. They better be moving. Okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. That's basically what I'm trying to cover. We have variety. We have great music today. Great music. And it's getting better all the time. However, we do have sneaking into the picture somewhere along the line 8, 8, 8, and 10 beat phrases. And my God, does that destroy me. But the thing is that as soon as I picked that up, if someone were to throw it on a turntable, I started calling to it, I'd get just about that end of that 10 count phrase, and I know that something's wrong with the record. Okay. Any questions? I think this is what we have to do with our new callers.
888.
Oh, the 88810. No, I don't buy them unless they send them free. I wouldn't even take them. As a matter of fact, I have suggested to callers that have bought them to mail them back and demand their money back. Now, I may make enemies, but it won't be the first time. Okay, we have a question?
Excuse me. This is being taped. Do we have a microphone for the floor here? I've got it. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it out there where you can use it then. Please come forward for the tape. I apologize for the first one. Try this one.
1, 2. Okay, I'm Johnny Schultz here in Phoenix, Arizona. I've helped with Johnny Balmer and Schroeder's Playboys and my own band and things like that in recording all kinds of music on the old timer. And I think probably, and I hope you cover it and maybe have some way to get with the bands. And I know what you mean on this 8-beat and 10-beat rather than your 16, 32, 64 phrasing, which we've all been used to. But I think right now, one of the biggest things that I find very, very disturbing in all of the, well, not all of the singing calls that's coming out now, there is no positive introduction to where you know where to start. You must count your beats and start right in somewhere along a rhythm that you can't even hear a melody to. Rosalie's Boat is a good example. You just never know unless you start counting and then come in on the right beat. And there's I say there must be 20 that I don't know the name of them offhand, but I just toss them out. That's all there is to it. The music is beautiful once they get started, but there is no introduction to where you know where to start in on the beat. Do you understand what I mean? I hope you covered that.
Yes, Johnny, very well. It's very important, and once again, we go back to listening, and that point was brought out this morning, and I'm very thankful for it, because I think sometimes we don't count the intro beats. Okay, when you start on your start of a song, on any song, most of the records, if they're a very, very short intro, then I'll have to take it through the first 50 or 64 counts, and then make sure I come in on the next one with number one. And it's too bad that all the records aren't. But your music basically is written the same way, and the musicians that play the music, you can tell by key changes, by a different instrument taking the lead. Now, that's not true in all cases, because some of the bands were pretty small, and they only had 4 instruments to start with, and it may be excellent music. But you learn after a while that you just got to learn to count and learn the song. It does have parts. Okay, part 16 would be like 2 dancing phrases. It doesn't say people in the middle of that can't go off phrase, but keep walking to the downbeat. But if they're brought back on phrase, I think this is the secret to the basics that we have to use in today's square dancing. However, you don't start there. You start with a very simple figure and develop that feel, and then it starts hitting your brain, your subconscious mind, and telling you this is where it belongs. Doesn't belong 2 beats too soon. How many times have you done an 8 chain through and a caller calls corner swing and he calls it 2 beats too soon? And you know the feeling among today's dancers, they don't want to give up. If they got somebody right here, even though it ain't drill number 5, the bird in the hands with 2 in the bush, they're going to swing number 4 and the other guy gets left out. It almost seems that this happens. But if that call came exactly at the time this girl is going by and the next one's right in view, you're just ensuring that they're going to swing the right girl. Okay? All right, we have a very distinguished gentleman here, and I'm not going to hog all the time because I think it's very important we hear what Max Forsyth says.
I have my own here. All right. Let me tell you just a little bit about Max, for those of you who may not be familiar with him. Max began calling in 1941 in Indianapolis. He called full-time from 1957 to 1970. He did 26 years at Kirkwood Lodge, served on many panels and clinics.
26 weeks.
26
not
weeks.
Years.
Did I misread that? I'm sorry. 26
All right.
weeks.
I didn't know
that
whether
was over 20
Kirkwood had been going that. Yes, they have. They
Is
started.
that right? Okay. I did misread. I'm sorry. But anyway, Max did call with his own band, his own live group, for 17 years. And I'm sure he has some very, very interesting and informative things to pass on to you. How about a nice hand for Max Forsyth?
It is interesting to sit here today. Back a good many years ago, when I used to do a good bit of this, I felt like I knew a lot about it. And now as I see people doing the things I was trying to do so much better, and with so much more talent and so much more musical skill, I feel like I'm in the wrong tree. But nevertheless, I was honored to be asked to do it anyway. I think that I try to analyze why are people here at this, and I tend to think as a caller who's been calling many years, and that there are always people that haven't been calling so long. But today, to find people who really know the mechanics of calling, they are so easy to find. And you can go to someone that you really like and listen to them a while and analyze, and there is so much that you can do. You can learn so much. I'm going to start out. I thought first, before I came, I'll take a look at my own calling case. Now, my case is one of those. It's organized like this. It's organized by the stack, and I keep them going in and out. And I thought, let me just take a look at my record case and see what's there. Incidentally, it did make me feel awfully good to look at the top record on the stack of both of these fellas, and they're both records that I put in the bread and butter class, the Pennsylvania Polka and What Are You, Wizard on the Hill. I just went through my records last night, and I pulled out 23 that I call bread and butter singing calls. They're ones that I use regularly, ones that I like very much, ones that for one reason or another that has a real place in some kind of programming. I thought, let's look at labels. I don't know whether this means anything, and you don't know how I call, and you all know that callers are so different that they're like night and day. But I found of my 23 bread and butter, now these are, let's say none of these are 8 or 10 or 12 years old. I'm not talking about those that I carry because people request them. But most of these are the last 2 years or maybe only the last 3 months. But I found that 6 of them were chaparral and 3 were hi-hat, and then 2 each of TNT, Blue Star, Rhythm, Prairie, Red Boot, Rawhide, 1 Chinook, and 1 Ranch House. I don't know what that means, but nevertheless, it's a variety of labels. I certainly don't choose a record because it's on a label. I want to hear by one method or another what it sounds like, or hear someone else use it. I'd like to give my awards for this year, coming from my own record case. Maybe just to give credits, probably the most flexible record that I've seen this year that I find more use for, and I want to give that credit to Chaparral and Marshall Flippo, his Welcome To. And he puts Lake of the Ozarks. You know, I use it to welcome to Swingin' Singles Square Dance Club, welcome to Rincon Country Square Dance, welcome to whatever, and it has such good music. Oh, what a great first number. You know, what a great first number if you're going in somewhere for the first time. And they're sort of honored by the fact that you at least reword something for them. It's as though you had prepared for them. I just want to say, I call that the most flexible record. And it's only been out, 4 months? I don't know, something like that. I'd like to mention, too, that for I'm concerned, I call them the hit of the moment. Now, I'm only talking about hits for me. I'm not describing anyone else, but maybe some of you missed it, or maybe that you'd say, well, maybe I'd like to try it. The hit of the moment, and why do I use it, is because It has a very basic figure done by a good choreographer who put the figure because of the music and because of the lyrics. Where I try to ad lib to it, I would not have come out quite as well as the music. And I give that to Johnny Wyckoff and Blue Star and his new number, Shotzi. Music, gosh, that makes you wear out your clothes from the inside. Boy, you're just really, really going. And it has a typical, Johnny Wyckoff's an old and dear friend of mine, a typical Johnny Wyckoff choreography. It's just slightly different, the things we've been doing, but just enough different. It has a grand square in it, and at the moment, may I make a point? I really sort of doubt a caller's intelligence when I go to his dance, and again, not his intelligence, but his awareness of what's going on the floor, and I'm dancing to a caller who's in from Timbuktu somewhere or 90 miles away, and I get to the middle break, and it starts out with a grand square, and I'm still 4 running steps from home. And I'm not a stickler for choreography. I use all the new things, and whatever comes up, I want to use it. But for me to not be home so that on beats 61, 62, 63, and 64, I can say sides, face, grand square, I have really committed a choreographic sin. And to hear some callers call and just suddenly say, grand square, I doubt their basic square dance intelligence. Now, how can we, let's say that you have a favorite singing call that has a middle break grand square in it, and that you, because I've called your attention to it, you notice that they weren't quite home. The next time, leave out some one little thing. Maybe the thing is, I find that, for instance, if I'm doing Elvira, just to name drop one of the most popular numbers of past some years, you know that Elvira is one of those that on the middle break, they very well might not be home. At least now the young head-down chargers, they're home, but some of the little older people who don't react quite as fast, they're not home yet. They deserve to be home to dance grand square. And so Elvira's written with a do-si-do. If you do it as written, take the do-si-do out on the second time through, and the 4th time through, it picks you up enough time to get everybody home. I vary on middle break grand squares and ending grand squares if I'm using the same figure or if I'm using any of my memorized pat figures. To be safe, I may leave out one little action to make sure I get them home so we can dance grand square to the music, and we may get some of them to even, they might even go so far as to take 32 beats to do it. And, you know, when you're using peppy music on a grand square, the tendency is to want to go in there and grab 2 hands and go whoosh, whoosh. And we create the need for some of them to feel like they have to kick up their heels, and yet we wish that they would. But at least let's start them on time. If they get home ahead of you, let them stand. The music's good. As a second hit of the moment, I like It's Just the Sun, Jim Davis on Rawhide. And why do I like it? It has nice lyrics. I hate negative lyrics. I tend to either change negative lyrics to positive lyrics because you never know when there's someone out there, you know, that times are a little trying, and it said, you know, who needs you anymore? I would at least say, I'm glad you need me now, or something like that. But anyway, It's Just the Sun. It has all kinds of music to play with. It's very easy to harmonize and get up to the tenor or 3rd or 5th or whatever you want to say above the tune, and you can add a few little words of your own. You can go dee-dee-dee or dee-dee-dee and slide with the music and feel for a moment like you're a pop singer, even though you don't think you sound good, but they think you do, so go ahead and do it. But Those are the two of the last 3 months that I love to do, and what will they'll come up and say, oh, I like that. Or someone from out in the audience will yell, 99! And that's always a good sign. Yeah, I've always had some people in the squares that I encourage them. If you like a number, please tell me. Please tell me. If you don't like it, give me the, there's a universal symbol for I don't like it. That's the universal symbol. But anyway, I encourage them to tell me, and before long, someone will start yelling out numbers, or I'll tell them about Louis back in Indianapolis, who used to tell me, and I could bounce. If he gave it a 60, I'd say, well, I'm not going to practice too much on that one unless I thought it was underrated. To the good on most any program set of the last one, to me, was Kingston Town on hi-hat. A solid number that I think can just fit in anywhere where you can sing and where you can put whatever salesmanship you want that I've liked has been Easy Lovin', Sam Mitchell's on Prairie. I'd like to give the Wish I Could Do It As Well award to What You Do to Me, Tony Oxendine, and you all know what I'm talking about. If you listen to that last, if you want to try to understand what it is that these people who do great things with music, take a listen to that record and listen to its seventh time through, when they go into stop rhythm and the band's doing that, and that means whenever you go into those stops, that means, caller, this is the time for you to sell one way or another, and what he does with that is beautiful. I made the mistake, though, once of deciding not to go along with some of the choreography. I used a far too difficult a figure with it and got a very negative reaction. I've sort of found that if I have music that is fabulously great, save the choreography. If I have music that's sort of where it needs choreography for salesmanship, why then go ahead. If I have fabulously great music, then I prefer to have one figure, this is my preference, one figure so that they can learn it, they know that there aren't coming any left hands, they can dance on automatic pilot, and they just dance a couple of inches taller. For the last few years, the one you might have missed award, I thought, was TNT's Real Madrid or Real Madrid. I put a teacup chain for a break and said nothing to let the music do it. My favorite to sell of the last few years was Ken Bauer's Sonny on Chaparral. Such loving lyrics, and gave me all the room in the world to slide up and down the tune, to double word it and triple word it and do all those kind of things. I have a Chamber of Commerce of Tucson award for Ernie Kinney for putting out Send Me Down to Tucson. And all right, a couple little things about hoedowns. Of course, callers get tired of hoedowns first. Why? You've heard them every time they've been used. Okay? Now don't worry about getting tired of a hoedown too soon. Not all your dancers are at every dance you call. They don't get quite as sick of them as you. I do try to, right now I'm carrying how many? 15. I try at the end of a sort of season, because mine is seasonal, I try to take all of them and put them away. Put them in an envelope and mark them 1984, 1983. And between now and next year, I try to have located another 15 that I can use at the beginning of the year. And how do I locate new hoedowns I like? I got my set this year, and I'll have to tell you how I was doing it. Won't name the caller, but we were traveling all last summer, and we're heading for Alaska, and in Washington I dropped in on a dance. I liked his first hoedown. I liked his second hoedown. His third hoedown was one I already used. I liked his fourth hoedown and his fifth hoedown. I went up to him at the end of the dance. I said, would you mind if I would write down the numbers of all of your hoedowns? He said, no, I wouldn't mind. I said, I liked the hoedowns that you used. I liked the variety. I think anything you used, I would like. I took down every number, immediately ordered them, and when I have a neat set of hoedowns, and that's the way I got them. It might be something that would work. It solved my problem for this year so that I wouldn't be bored with the music. I probably, maybe I drug over a couple that I got late in the year. I want to put another thing. As I go dancing, I recall I was going to a dance workshop for off and on for 2 years, and didn't take me too long to realize that the caller was always starting out with the same hoedown, and he did it for 2 years, and he sometimes used it a second time, and then I said, why did I recognize that hoedown? Because I usually don't recognize hoedowns, but I realized it had a very different style. So I've worked with callers who have worked a whole week at Kirkwood Lodge using, well, I won't say how few hoedowns, but about like that, and they used one twice as much as the other, and it did not offend me. It did not offend me, but I had dancers coming up to me and saying, doesn't he have any other hoedowns with him? And of course that, he's asking me to butt into something that certainly is not any of my business, but I realized that the dancers did realize it. So my suggestion is, if I were using a record like, a new hit handpicked, everyone has picked that up, I'm sure, on Chaparral, that has that, when you come to when you come to beat 65, and it starts with that snap coming in there, it's just great. That would be a bad one to use all evening because it is so recognized. The one that the fella used all the time was Alpine Hoedown. I happen to like it, but it sort of taught me a lesson, maybe to not always start my evening with the same record. And if one is so terribly recognizable, most hoedowns are not recognizable. So I looked through my hoedowns, and I was just checking my notes. I found that this year I had 15. 3 were on TNT. I happen to like TNT's this synthetic music of whatever it is, I don't know, but I happen to like them. 2 were Chaparrals, 2 were ESP, 2 were hi-hat, and then a few others. But the labels are not. Even one was an old wagon wheel that I got from that fella, and I had never heard it. As a matter of fact, I think it's a singing call that he used for a hoedown, but it had no lead in it, and you didn't realize it. So, I just wanted to remind you that you and your wife are the only ones who hear the number every time you use it, so don't give up something good too soon. Let's see, there was one thing that came up. Oh, talking about odd intros. The one thing I do on each singing call, I want to check 4 things on a singing call. I want to check the intro. I want to know how many beats it is. And, for instance, I can't remember what it is, but when I take the record out of the sleeve, showing right through here, let's see if this, well, assuming that I pull this out until, okay, it says 4 beats. I want to know if it has any, if it's standard, there'll be nothing written there. I have one that has a 14-beat intro. And I know that on beats 15 and 16, my cue has to come in. I forget what the cue is. It might be sides, face, grand, square, which must be on those last 4 beats. It just must be, or you're not calling. You're just shouting out commands. So I write that on here. I write the intro. I want to check the middle break. I think the best part of a singing call, the best salesmanship can be in the middle break and the closer and the final break. And then I want to check the tag out. Sometimes I put on a record and I say, gee, I like that. I can follow the tune. And I don't even play it all the way through, and I use it that night. And when I get to the end, I get over close to the speaker and I say, I wonder what the tag's going to be, whether it's going to be a standard 4-bar turnaround or whether it's going to have, all those kinds of things. So I do like to check it. I like one other thing that I don't hear enough callers doing. I feel like that you should end a singing call. End the singing call. Sing it out. Don't be so lazy as to every time you finish a singing call, say, bow to your partner in corners 2, stop right there, that's it, you're through. It's just like a pop singer who's singing and he's getting down to those last lines where he's sort of trying to sing his heart out and say, buy this damn thing, And then you come up with something like that. You come up with some kind of an ending. Sing it out. Know what's there. Don't listen. You can listen to what the other guy does. If he does something that's just standard as can be, get your own on It's the Sun. There is a rhythm in there that on the last time through, it took a little bit. I practiced more on the tag than the entire number. I seldom practice at all. But when I got to that one, I said, this is great. I'd listen to that tag. That thing doesn't tag out very easily. And I practice like mad, and I have an ending that I think is great. I think those are some little suggestions, and I'd like to turn it back.
Alrighty. Do you have any questions for Max? Or Dick, for that matter, at this point? None? Well, then I suggest everybody, where you are, stand up, turn around about 3 or 4 times, straighten your shorts, and then sit back down. Sit back down. Up, down, up, down. Whoa! All righty. Thank you. Of course, I'm just the moderator, so I don't have to know anything, right? Yeah. And I did fully expect both these guys to take up all the time. They didn't do it. So you're stuck with me for a couple of minutes anyway. And then I do hope that you will come up with some questions to fire at these guys. It would be a shame to have this much talent sitting in front of you up here and not take advantage of it while you're here. On the subject of hoedowns, when I began teaching callers, one of the first things that I had to teach them when they started doing patter was just what they were going to be doing with the music and how we use what music we have in order to deliver that patter. And as I started to analyze it, the fact that practically all of our music has a down, up, or boom, chuck rhythm to it became very, very important as a patter caller. And we use both of those parts of the rhythm in our patter. And I'm not going to dwell on this, but just real quickly, I'd like to slow this down and show you why that works. And it just may make a slight difference in some of the delivery or the way that you are using your hoedown records and your patter records. Boy, that's slow enough, isn't it? All right. In any case, you can hear very easily the down, up, 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 down, up. And those are the 2 parts of the beat that you're going to use for delivery in your patter, right? Bound to the partner, corner 2, circle to the left, thought at the time that I discovered that, I'd been doing it for many, many years, and without even stopping to realize that I was taking advantage of both. And the first thing that a newer caller is going to say is, well, how do you make it, work like this? How do you get that little trip of the tongue? How do you make it feel the way, instead of just circle left or round, and it's a totally different feel. And that's the difference that you hear when a person starts getting the idea of patter. I, too, brought along some records, but before I play them, I noticed some things here. Just to mention about things that I do when I'm picking music or using music during a dance. For those of you who may have been to some of my clinics or seminars, you'll remember that I'm quite into programming. And I program not on paper, but I have a program formula that I use for my music, for building the whole format of the dance. And I do that even within each singing call. I have a formula that I use when I'm doing a singing call. And I think most, maybe not all, but most of the professional callers do that. I think that probably all of them, if you stop and listen, maybe tape them one of their dances and listen to their singing calls and start picking out the little things that they do during their singing calls, as far as how they start it, what they do on the second figure. I'm not talking about choreography. I'm talking about their use of the music, what they do as far as their voice delivery, their voice effects the second time through the figure, what they do during the middle break, what they do immediately following the middle break. You might be surprised if you attack what they're doing and analyze what they're doing from those aspects. You might find that by and large, through a whole evening's dance, they will be programming or following a particular formula for that singing call. And please stop me if I'm unclear at any time, or if you want to elaborate on anything. I'm just hitting some different things here, and hopefully you'll have some questions about it. And hopefully these guys will have the answers. Okay. Some of the things that they do in the use of their music is one of the things in particular that seems to be creating a lot of interest these days is harmony. And that is, when I say harmony and harmonizing, I'm not particularly talking about two callers working together. I'm talking about following a melody line at least part of the way, and probably most of the way through a piece of music, and then sometime late in that piece of music, jumping onto a harmony line purely for effect and purely for raising the floor, and using that as an effective use of their music. Another thing that they use quite frequently is the fills in a piece of music. Do you all know what I mean by fills? Some of the fellows are calling them chases. That's where right after a phrase from one instrument, another instrument will have an echo, or they will echo or repeat the same line right behind it. And that, if you were speaking to a musician, you would speak of fills behind the phrases of music. You all look at me like that. Am I getting through? Do you find it that interesting? A musical example. Love to. Yes. Thank you. Just happened to have a record with me here that... What? This is for the tape. The crowd is getting smart. This is a Chinook label, of course. And it is The Wizard on the Hill. The instrument that you hear doing the lead line on here, the melody line, is called the clavinet. Too loud? Okay. The instrument doing the melody line is the clavinet. The fills, what's happening behind, is being done on a Rhodes, an electric piano. You hear the sounds like chimes in the background. Some records are really nice for taking advantage of fills. One of the new releases on hi-hat, to me, is almost nothing but fills. There really is no melody line, but it works out so well. And now I'm not going to say that it works out well for everybody, because I realize that there are a lot of callers that prefer to have a strong melody line. But if you are one of the lucky callers that can sing along without having something definite to follow, this is an excellent record. And like I say, it does have fills. It's called Washed My Hands in Muddy Water. And it was by Tom Perry. There's not a lot to tell you what the melody is going to be in. But the fills are there. Those are all fills. The actual melody goes right behind it that's going to echo it, and you can kind of crank up on your volume just a little bit at those points, and it becomes very, very effective. So here again, if you have problems following melodies, well, this is not going to be your record. But another nice thing about a record like this is you're really not saddled into a particular melody, and if you are training yourself or practicing at following the chord structures, it's an excellent one for jumping into the harmonic lines. And this particular piece has two modulations, two key modulations, which is to say that it has maybe a half step or a full step up in the key range, where for a little bit of excitement, and that added with harmonics, boy, I'll tell you, you can just absolutely bring the walls down in a place and really excite the dancers. Okay, questions before I carry on? Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone and... The question is, in as much as some of the sound equipment companies are coming out with attachments for graphic equalizers, are the record producers going to come out with records designed specifically for those pieces of equipment? Is that it? Recommendations for settings on the graphic equalizer. You've asked me a question I have no answer for. I'm sorry. I at this time, with my company, have no intention of that. It may be something that I'll have to reverse my stand on it later. At this time, no. I don't know of any. There was another question. Gary Davis.
Gary Davis, Boise, Idaho. In my opinion, a graphic equalizer is put on there. If you put it on your set or buy a set with it, the idea is for you to bring out what you want. That's what the graphic equalizer would be for. So why would a record producer tell you to bring out a certain thing? If he wants it brought out, he'll put it that way. The equalizer is for you to bring out what you want out of that record. Just an opinion.
Any other questions? None yet. Okay. Well, maybe we can stir one up. I'm going to give it back to you guys here in a couple of minutes. Counter melodies. Counter melodies are something that's happening quite a bit in square dancing today, and it's square dance calling. And of course, one of the real masters at this is our own Mr. Tony Oxendine. I wish he was here to tell us something about him. I'm not real knowledgeable on him. I find that well, it's not new. Let me put it this way: there's nothing new about it. I remember when Marshall Flipple came out with "Sin to Tell a Lie." Wasn't there a counter melody on the record of that? You didn't get the record? Well, as you all know, the basic melody goes, cross my... Now, how's it go? Be sure it's true when you say, I love you. The counter melody went, cross my heart and I hope to die. Never, never, never tell another white lie. And both of them done together made a very, very nice blend. And, of course, this is not only happening these days in your singing call with more frequency, but it's also beginning to happen where you have two callers on the microphone doing patter. And it's becoming very, very effective. And, of course, these are all worked on harmonics there again within the music, structure of the music. Yes?
Don Wiggins, Walla Walla. Being a fairly new caller, I listen to a lot of records, and some of them on the singing side that they have a harmonic or a lead-in voice, like, can't think of one now, but Summer Rains or something like that. Then you flip it over, and the harmonic is not on the back side of it. Or do you know what I'm talking about?
That would be a background singers on records.
Why do record companies put it on one side and not the other?
Well, of course, it's possible to put it on both. It's just a decision that they've made in their production. Some record companies do. As a matter of fact, Hi-Hat has quite a handful of records that do have background harmony on the flip side. Red Boot has them also. Some are available. I'll tell you the reason. I can give you my own personal reason for why we do put backgrounds on some and don't put them on others. You won't find it on one side of ours and not on the other to begin with, unless it would be the particular artist, possibly Joe Saltel, who records for us, may decide that he wants to do harmony with himself on the one side. That the actual backgrounds on our records are usually consist of nothing more than oohs and ahs. And we treat the backgrounds just like another instrument for the whole piece of music. And it'll go ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, and then it'll say, long, long ago, last few words of the taglines, to where it really doesn't interfere with choreography. Particularly these days where so many of the callers are changing the breaks and the figures and everything else to fit the particular dance that they're calling. The background or the harmony can really be in the way and cause more of a hindrance than a help. So, and on the other hand, if you like them, maybe you ought to get a hold of some of the producers and say, hey, this is 1985. We'd like to have a little bit more of this type of stuff available. And if enough people say it, well, they'll probably make it available. More questions on anything, gang?
Okay, I'm Jim Straba from Phoenix, and I have a question. How do you handle records that have a multitude of lyrics, such as Sugarfoot Rag, and get your lyrics and everything else in there at the same time?
Usually, if they're too hard to learn, I don't bother with them. Once in a while, there is a number that is just so popular, like The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I think everyone tried to learn it and did it a while. My memory is not that great for lyrics, and I did it for a little while and then very quickly dropped it out. I know a couple of guys who do those well, and I usually give those records to them and say, here, go work. Or if a fella has, one of those photographic minds where he can read those lyrics and then come out with, let's say, I wish I could do them without just too much effort.
Was that a matter of memorizing the words or a matter of getting them out during the music? Both was his answer. I'll tell you something. If you hadn't noticed, occasionally I might stammer or stutter a little bit up here trying to get all the words out as fast as I want anyway. When I first started calling, or even here recently, there have always been things that I wanted to say on the microphone, particularly during pattern things, cute little phrases and trippy little things that some of the other guys were using. And I just really had trouble getting my mouth to say it. Now, when I first started calling, I could not say circle to the left to save my soul. So I settled for circle up 8 and other things like that. And it was only after, just making myself practice, and I started out slow. Circle to the left, circle to the left, or like you did a bit ago. Well, I had a terrible time learning to say that as fast as a person needs to say it to stay within the rhythm of the music in my pattern like it did a bit ago. And I thought, boy, it sounds so neat when Bob Fisk does it. But I'll be doggone if I could get it to come out. And it was only after I made myself do it slow. And that's why, that's one of the reasons that I put on that first hoedown record very, very slow. If a person starts slow and you start building up in your speed and you just start bringing it up a little bit at a time, a lot of these phrases, a lot of these cute little things that you'd like to be able to say, you'll be able to do it. It's just a matter of, like everything else, you have to practice. Study it, find out what it is, and then put in the little bit of extra effort it takes to learn it. It's all there for you. It's all there for you to have. You can be a star, I promise you. More questions? Come on, gang. We didn't answer everything that you might want to know. Yes, sir. Would you please come forward, though? I'd like to hear who you are.
Ray Arbut from Dragut, Mass. I wonder if we could ask Dick Ledger to demonstrate with a square on the floor of his phrase calling.
What did you say your name was? Sure. Can we get a square of dancers? Okay. Okay, no, I'd be glad to make sure that you can hear. But the main thing is you shouldn't feel rushed through any of this. Just relax and enjoy each other's company and dance to the music. That's all I say. Okay, just slip something on. I kind of like that. Right. Okay, you want to put it on back at the beginning, okay? Okay, so we've got a little intro here. Bow to your left, corner, circle left. Don't they look good? Circle right. Let's make it single file. 4 ladies ready, chain. If I waited till they stopped, chain them back. It would have been too late. You're going to keep this girl in promenade. And if you have something to sing, this is the area you sing it in. Now the music tells me heads right on the two. Same ladies chain, nice and easy. The sides right on the two. Same ladies chain. Join all your hands, circle left. Your corner swing, talk to her at the same time. Promenade, love belongs. How about you sing in the chorus, okay? I'm doing the work, you sing with me. Heads right on left. Same ladies chain. Sides right on left. Same ladies chain. All join hands, circle left. Talk to each other, for heaven's sake, you're making me nervous. Corner swing. Now keep it, let's hear everybody. Promenade, love belongs to everyone. Best things in life are free, size, space, brain, square. Reverse. 4 ladies chain across. Turn them, chain them back. Promenade, look at her and sing, love. Circle to the left, exactly halfway, heads right on left too. All join hands, circle left. I'm using this as a break. Sides right on left too. If I gave it too soon, they'd be in the wrong position. 4 ladies chain. through. Side couple square through. Now they started on phrase, but now in the middle of this thing, do-si-do. I said do-si-do. 8 chain 4 starts on 1. Now for insurance, I'm going to say swing 5 once, promenade. There's the 1 again. Okay? You swung twice, sir. Don't worry, my dancers do the same thing. Head, ladies, chain. And the heads go forward, all the way back. You pass through, separate, around 1. In the middle, do-si-do. Same 4, right hand star. They actually start turning on 7-8. Alamane left. They can't make a mistake if they try. Do-si-do. Take your corner, promenade, and sing it. Love belongs to. All go forward and back. And bow to your partner, right there. And bow to your partner. I should applaud you. That was beautifully done. Beautiful dancing. You just don't hand that to me.
All righty. Any other questions? Please.
Your turn,
How
Max.
about something for Dick? Dick holds a great many clinics just on this subject annually, don't you, Dick? Do you, in what different parts of the country?
Yes,
Some of these folks
and
would like to catch up with you.
This working timing out was not my idea. Being a musician first, being a dancer second, and being a caller third, I naturally put the way I felt like dancing and the way I felt like the music I like to dance to first and foremost. So I think as a dancer, and the way I like to dance is the way I like to call. But it's a slow, gradual process, but once people start moving, once you give the music to the dancer, you can't take it away from them because they love it. And people will ask about timing schools. The school was not my idea. This came from a group of gentlemen up in Nova Scotia that said, there's something you're doing with people up here and we'd like to learn how to do it. And at that point in time, I didn't know really what it was. I knew I loved music, and I called the way I like to dance. But evidently there was just something, and it was really their idea. Would you come up and work with us on timing and teach us? I said, I won't teach you. I'll come up and work with you. And that was the beginning of the timing school. And we discovered many, many things in a timing school. That the dancing just was absolutely beautiful. If we didn't know anything, we worked on it, and we worked it over and over and over again. And we came to, well, what can we put after this because we're splitting phrase? Well, we can't put this because you're still off phrase. So we started writing choreography for the same particular reason, to eventually bring people back on phrase again. Now, this is a accumulation of many years of working in this particular area. I have a philosophy that I'd rather do fewer things good than a lot of things not so hot. And I think I've kind of stuck with this as far as the music is concerned. I try honestly to call the way I love to dance. And to me, music is constant. It's the only common denominator between what you're saying and what people are doing with their hands and feet. And it's a perfect marriage if the caller orchestrates it so that he is actually letting them have that number one beat whenever possible. And it doesn't have to be just singing calls. You could take any hoedown that's constructed right and do the exact same thing as we just did here with a singing call, with exactly the same timing. The timing would not change one iota, unless I made a mistake. And that's always possible. Okay, any questions?
My name's Sid Acker. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, and I wanted to go back a little bit and make a comment that one of the things and that we just saw you do, Dick, you know, we'll all go out and buy the record if we don't have it because we saw that looks so nice and the dancers are going to do so well. And it's sort of like the traveling callers coming and doing Sugarfoot Rag and Devil Went Down to Georgia, and we all think we can go out and do that record. And going back to the question that was asked, what do we do about that record? You don't buy that record. That record belongs to Ken Bauer or Jerry Schatzer or Jerry Haig or whoever did that record. I mean, they have worked and made that record theirs. So if you're going to do it, you better practice, and do more practice. And you can do just as well with that record, saying a lot of things, as Dick just did with the record he did, and make the dancers dance, and they're going to really enjoy what they're doing. So that was my comment. I think it's very important to know your limitations as to what you can or cannot do with the music you have.
I just wanted to ask Dick Ledger a question because I do not know the answer. The callers that people really like to dance to, do they phrase better on the average? The callers that people come up to and say, oh, your timing is so good, in general, are they better at phrasing and letting the people dance to music or not?
I really don't know either, because I think that everybody that reaches a certain point has some particular thing that they feature, and I think that the end result of the most successful callers that I know of, the ones that I've seen, have been their attitude was that the dancer has to win. One way or the other, the dancer has to win. He has to walk out of there a winner. And if he doesn't, we all lose. Not just that caller, but we all lose. Because it's going to be hard to, if he may do it with jokes. And Wade brought up a very good point this morning. He may do it by changing his music, by shutting up. There are different people that I know. I relate Curly Custer with doubling and chords riffling his words. My God, the people think they're flying and they're dancing at 124 beats a minute, which is even slow, for anything other than the quadrille. But he has this knack of just picking everybody right up. But the timing, I think the timing, by and large, you'll find is pretty doggone good. They may not be exactly on this particular system, but I think that somewhere along the line they did their homework, they've served their apprenticeship, and they didn't try to be an overnight success, because this takes years. If we all honestly believe, and I think that we still do, that it takes 3 years to make a dancer, then I think you multiply that times at least three times, and it probably takes 9 years to make a well-rounded caller to where they're comfortable with what they're doing. And it usually will reflect the caller's personality. He really loves to dance to music. Number one, I think every requirement is you must be able to dance what you're calling. And that goes from the very first circle left to flip-flop the orange basket. But they must be able to dance. In other words, they must be able to get out in the floor and demonstrate the proper way to do a right and left through with so much distance of cover and so much for the courtesy turn without having to push anybody or pull anybody. They must be able to do that and be a dancer first.
Yes, Joe Krulis, Sacramento, California. I'd like to get a comment from you on a lot of callers I feel are rushed through their singing calls now because the dancers shortcutting, such as grand squares and this. And I know I've done it myself. Have rushed a singing call and the phrasing and all that because dancers have cut it to 28 instead of 32 on a grand square of that. Do you have any opinion on this, or what you can do, or?
Well, I don't give in. I don't think Max does either. I think that, like Max made the comment earlier, which is really a prize. He said, the music's good, let him listen to it. A funny thing happens if you are chopping, and I think you all know what I mean by chopping a call, okay? And you're trying to excite the floor. I try to do it with music. I can't compete with the music. There's so much good music and so much variety in the music. I don't try to do it, I can pick up and go once in a while, but the timing doesn't change. I think if you are chopping throughout the first part of the evening and all of a sudden throw something with a grand square in, and the dancers go and they chop 6, 8 beats off the grand square, I don't think you can really honestly blame the dancer, because you haven't been constant, and you've cheated them all the way along the line, and what makes them think you're not going to cheat them again? So what happens is, sure, they are cutting, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of it all, you demand perfect execution. You're not going to get it. My God, it's like going on a freeway and somebody shoves it in second all of a sudden, from high. You are flying, all of a sudden something is doing this to your body. And the dancers will, it's almost like going on a freeway, right? If you're driving, Max. You had a comment.
Yes. From his question, I have often caught myself making an error that I think is an error in judgment. I realized this many years ago, that we as callers, I assume that most callers are doing a certain amount of sight, and when you are doing sight kind of things, you are probably sighting your timing. Everything isn't autonomic. I think we as callers must be very careful that we are not sighting on the 24-year-old square that never makes a mistake right in front of us, that they dance so efficiently that they'll dance perfectly and your timing will be perfectly for them, but for the rest of us mine run dancers who are around the floor, you may be stretching, and when you stretch them and they get 2 beats behind and then 3 beats behind and then 4 beats behind, a mistake is going to be made. I think callers should be very careful with whatever sighting you're doing on your timing, and goodness knows you have to change the timing on singing calls sometimes from the way it's written and the way you called it last night. Sight on this square, but time on the other squares. Time on the average. If you need to sight out, sight out. Be very careful to not be trapped to always watching that young, efficient square, and you'll be more popular with the whole floor. And let them pull up on their noses once in a while. That doesn't hurt them. They can do 2 extra things in there and enjoy it and come out with a partner. I would say that might be. I have found myself trapped in this, and sometimes I've almost wanted to go over and bang my head against the wall when I suddenly realized what I was doing. And it's one of those things that you just must be conscious of.
Bill Hamilton from Michigan. On the other side of the coin, if you are used to doing your calling and phrasing and timing, and I think Dick Ledger's committee on timing has been great, it's a little exasperating to run across singing calls done by national callers, members of the Board of Governors and things like that, who will circle left 16 beats, allemande left, grand right and left, swing your partner, and they're opposite from home. They have 16 beats of music. They say promenade. They promenade home, which takes 8 beats, and there are still another 8 beats of music there where they're standing there with their fingers in their ears and wondering what to do. So I do think that the timing, if you get used to dancing with the music, that everybody should pay attention to it. Merely a comment.
Right. Why do you look at me when you say that? I agree. I prefer figures that are going to time out and have everybody get home at the proper time. Why some of the recording companies do this, I don't know, and it does happen occasionally on ours. It's a difference in the artists, and of course, these days the artists all want to get words in. I have asked some of our more popular choreographers or inventors of square dance movements for a good 32-beat figure besides grand square that will leave everyone 180 degrees from home with their original partner. So the recording companies will have a good viable movement that they can call in place of grand square to take up that 32 beats and leave them over there for their allemande left and weave the ring for 16 beats and meet the partner in promenade for 16 beats and get them back home. I started asking some of the note services for that movement about 6 or 8 years ago. I still haven't seen the right one yet. When I do, I'll know it, and you'll probably see it on record. But yes, you are right.
Yes, I'm James Briscoe. I think I'm a little too close to this. I'm Jeannie's husband. I'm sometimes known in the Briscoe household as the other caller. I'd just like to make an observation that every caller has a style of his own, and I'm very much intrigued by Dick's style. It's beautiful. but I don't think it's something that I should try to change or try to do. I have a different style entirely. Jeannie has a different style, and I've taught 4 callers. They've all got different styles. And I think probably if you took a survey of this room, you'd find that most of these callers have a style of their own. And the point that I'd like to make is that when you're choosing your singing calls, you should be very careful to choose the type of music that fits you and your style, because what some other caller is doing a terrific job on, you may fall on your face on.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think every individual caller has something within himself, and if he's actually putting himself into the call, it's really going to be his style. But the bottom line is the consistency of the dance. We're talking of the dancer, not so much of the caller selling himself. I don't care if he gets to be the best caller in the world. If there's no people out in the floor to call to, he's going to be out of business very shortly. And I think it's going to hurt us all. What we're talking about here is the execution, and we were very fortunate to have 4 excellent couples who were dancers. You could tell that. Except for the one that swung twice. That's absolutely right. But the beautiful part of this system is that he even had a chance, and she had a chance to recover and still come in on the music. I didn't wait for him. He had to make the music. All right, and it's just like if you are getting your timing from anything other than the music, all right, you are at somebody's mercy. If you're at the dancer's mercy, heaven help you, because the dancers can let you down. As Max said, you may have this 24-year-old square here that are going to do things 4 beats faster than anybody else. You have the senior citizens open the corner, and that's nothing personal back there. It's just, okay. But, I mean, you got that. But the music plays a strange role. As long as the timing is constant, that whole floor gels together and nothing changes. It doesn't have to be my style.
Very quickly,
Dick, Paul Hartman from Maryland. You might not have heard, Dick, but last week there was a group that set a new record for the Grand Square. They did it in 13 beats.
Was that one way, Paul, or both ways?
Both ways.
Yes. Very quickly here. We're coming down to the end of our session.
Just have to comment. Jean Parish, Colorado. Fellas, remember that you are not responsible for what someone else writes or what someone else records. You are responsible for what you call. Select your material more carefully.
Thank you, Jean. Very good. All right. If there are...
Okay, just a very quick observation, and I'll throw a percentage figure out here. CALLERLAB is making progress, and the record producers, and I heard something this morning once again, evidently are making progress, because that's where it's going to have to go back. If we want some type of quality control, then if something adds up to 82 counts of music, and there's only 64 beats in a song, then it really isn't fair. We should have some way of monitoring the number of steps to a song. And it doesn't matter how you call it, as long as that timing is constant.
Yeah. Okay, we'd like to thank Dick Ledger and Max Forsyth for the program this afternoon. I'm sure that they will be available at different times during the rest of the convention here for other questions and comments from you.